Hi, I'm Leeza. I'm an international transformation specialist. And today I want to talk about one of the most painful yet powerful forces inside of us, the inner critic. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. We all have one. So it's that voice that tells you you are not good enough, you're not ready, you're not worthy, you're not going to make it. That one that creeps in when you're wanting to do something and move yourself forward. The one that judges you before you even take the first step. That's the one we're going to be talking about today. And I want to invite you to see that voice differently. Most people see it as an enemy, something that needs to be stilled and eradicated. I'm inviting you to see it not as an enemy, but as a guide to wounds that you can heal. So let me explain that, what I mean by that. Have you ever spoken to yourself in a way that you would never speak to someone you love? Have you ever abandoned maybe a dream or a goal that you were working to achieve, or even maybe a relationship because you felt you weren't capable, or that voice was telling you you don't belong there, or that you didn't deserve it? That's the inner critic that's working. And as odd as it sounds, it's actually working to support you. It's it's a source that's trying to protect you from something. And I'll show you how to transform that voice from a source of sabotage into really a call for deeper healing and real freedom. Okay? All right, so let's first talk about clarity. Recognizing the inner critic's true origin. So the inner critic, it's not original to you. You're not the only one that has that critic, right? We all do. And it's a learned voice. It's been shaped by all of the voices we've heard in the past, from wounds that we've had, from society's expectations, teachers, parents, the media, beliefs that we've created as we've engaged in the world and thought, I'm not like them, I'm not good enough. They're better than I am at that, so I must not be worthy. It's actually a survival strategy, right? It's how we seek to better ourselves and to navigate situations that maybe we are not yet or haven't yet been ready for. But it then flips and it turns into a voice that keeps us small and it keeps us on guard that we don't belong, we have to defend ourselves, we're not good enough. So clarity comes when you recognize that harsh voice is not a truth. It's not talking about facts. It's how you've conditioned yourself and been conditioned. And once you see clearly that you can choose to have a different voice, that this voice that is now on automatic does not have to run your life, that you can choose how to live your life with a different narrative, that's when you have clarity and that's where freedom begins. So it starts actually with ownership. Meeting your inner critic with compassion, which I mean with that is understanding, right? So transformation begins when you take ownership, when that what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you're believing and your actions, where you own those. You don't say, well, I'm doing this because they, or I'm only feeling this way because they, right? Things happen to you, people do things, events take place, and we have emotions about that. We base our behavior on that. We create our beliefs from all those things. But we create, we base, and we have those feelings. And so it's owning that, owning yourself, owning your experience. And it doesn't mean you're making yourself wrong, just the opposite. It puts you in the power seat, it puts you in the driver's seat of your own life. So you take ownership of that inner critic by not fighting it, but listening deeply to what's being said and perhaps why, right? So one of the stories that I had for most of my life really was that I'm not wanted. And whether I was at a social engagement or even in relationship or very early on, even in business, I'm not wanted here. I don't belong. And that was a voice that was so strong for me. And so when I started working with it and listening to it deeply, like why, what is it saying and why? This is what I found out. I came after my sister died, and my parents were understandably overwhelmed with grief. So when I came, they didn't have really the capacity they had with their other children. I came after a tragedy. They were still in deep grief. So the sense I had, the things I observed, I concluded it meant I wasn't wanted. That wasn't so. My parents loved me. They really did. But they didn't have the capacity I saw with other people. And so my inner critic concluded it's because you're not wanted here, right? You're not worthy of being here. Well, that simply wasn't true. And when I understood later, wow, it was when I became a parent. I cannot imagine having another child right after I lost a child. That must have just been horrific for them. So that's my story. That's an example of where my inner critic, or one of the narratives of my inner critic, came from, and how when I understood, oh, it came from really years of believing I wasn't wanted and behaviors I saw in others that I took to mean I wasn't wanted, but that wasn't really the reason. And even if it was, I still could change the meaning I gave it because I'm in command of my inner narrative. So my invitation to you in taking that ownership is to ask, maybe, what fear is your inner critic trying to protect you from, or what old story and belief system is it clinging to and consistently repeating. And you can find that out. You can ask yourself questions. You can become a student of yourself, right? And with that clarity and that ownership, oh wow, I'm telling myself this story. It's not a fact that I'm not wanted. It's not a fact that I'm not worthy in the world. This is something I concluded, and I alone have the power then also to change that conclusion, to change how I see things. So when you meet the inner critic with that kind of understanding instead of resistance, you start to reclaim those parts of you that were being kept small or hidden or uncertain or in fear. The whole dynamic begins to change. So let's talk now about resolution in regard to your inner critic, right? You can rewrite the story with new truths, with your truths, with chosen truths about yourself. Resolution isn't about silencing the inner critic, and it's also not about getting rid of it. It's about replacing outdated beliefs and stories with beliefs and truths that actually serve you. So instead of, in my example, instead of I'm not wanted, I bring so much to the table. Of course I'm wanted here. And or if I'm not wanted here, this isn't the place for me. There's so many different sayings and understandings that I've created to help myself. So if someone is thinking I'm not enough, you can replace that with I'm learning and I'm growing, which is a truth. Here we are right now talking, right? You're learning and you're growing constantly. We all are. And instead of, for example, of I'll never make it or I can't do this, you can say I'm taking courageous steps forward or I'm taking this step forward. So it's not an overpowering, it's not an eradicating, it's a replacing, it's a debunking, if you will, and saying, yeah, I can hear that perspective, but actually, that's not what I believe anymore. So healing comes not from erasing that inner critic, it comes from changing the conversation you're having with it. Let's move on now to excellence in and thriving beyond that self-sabotage. And that's really what the inner critic does. At some point, it created itself, or we created it. I'm going to say it's not this foreign object that's out there on its own. It's part of who we are, right? It's our inner critic. So we created that inner critic to take care of ourselves. At some point in time, it made sense. It's how we made sense of the world. And now we can self-sabotage ourselves with that. We hold ourselves back with the inner critic. So excellence isn't found in being perfect. It's found in resilience. And so what I mean by that is when you continue to move forward, even when those doubts come or whisper in your ear and you say, you know what? I hear that. I'm going to look at it differently right there. That takes courage, it takes strength, and it builds resilience. And you can do that. So when you learn to anchor yourself in understanding and compassion for yourself, and also in the truths of today, I'm taking steps. I'm improving myself. I'm contributing to the world. I like me. Whatever it is. When you do that, instead of listening and tuning in and abdicating your power to a voice that's outdated, then you're no longer limited by the critic's outdated warnings, right? So when you act from self-trust instead of self-doubt, that's when your true excellence shines through, right? I'm going to say that again. When you act from self-trust instead of self-doubt, and you can make that change. Every thought, Every action, every day, you're building that muscle in order to trust yourself. And that's when you can live from your excellence. I'd like to give you a practice, if you will, for this week. When your inner critic pipes up, I'm going to invite you to do two things: listen and ask. So the first thing is listen. What's it saying? What am I hearing? You're not worthy, you're not good enough, you can't do this, whatever it is. Pick one. Huh, I'm not worthy. Okay, I'm hearing that I'm not worthy. I don't want to believe that anymore. I don't want to hear that voice anymore. So you can ask yourself, what is going to help me move forward and free myself? And then you replace that voice. You replace that phrase. I'm valuable. I'm loved. My dog loves me. My partner loves me. People at work appreciate my work. Whatever it is, that you replace that inner critic voice, that's what you heard, with something that you know to be true for yourself, something you can really stand behind when you say it to yourself. And that's how you can slowly re-record, re-tape it. Long ago, there were tape recorders, and you'd have to rewind the tape and press play again, and it would tape over that recording. That's exactly what we're talking about, is recreating that narrative. And then you can be gentle with yourself, not with judgment, but with kindness and curiosity and trusting, faith that you can switch gears and you can change the narrative. So you can even actually thank that voice for trying to protect you, for helping you navigate over the years. And then also you can say thanks and I can let you go. I don't need you anymore. And you can remind yourself of a truer and a kinder narrative that you also get to choose, right? It's all chosen. And that's really the place of power when we understand we get to choose. So if this message helped you see yourself with a little more compassion, if it gave you any permission to challenge those old voices and choose different ones, create a different narrative for yourself that feels better, that you like better, then go ahead and like this video and subscribe for more, and share with someone who may also be ready to quiet the critic and trust their own light and their own current narrative. And if you're ready to live grounded in clarity and ownership and resolution and excellence, those four pillars of the work I do, you'll find more resources and programs linked below. You were never broken. You are simply always in the process of becoming. Be well.